Hi, my name is Sam, and I'm going to try to go through a process where, as all the other videos, I'm seeking online administrative support. And I found I have to actually define all the symbols and tokens, otherwise people have no clue. They'll ask what to do, when in reality, if you know what things are, you'll know the path to perform. It's just implicit in what it means to know. So in this case, begin, we actually use a symbol of a point to indicate the focus, and we use a curved bracket that is before and after the point of focus to indicate begin and end. So ideally, we'll link the hyperlink to the token or symbol and then have it manifest the path to where we're focused on. So here at begin, if I click on begin, the idea is it'll take me deeper into we have that object and we want to go down beneath where it stands so that we stand on a point of focus, and let's identify begin. So begin right here is a word that we're going to define. We use a background color to indicate that there's a relation in this cell that allows you to navigate by hyperlink. So begin is going to be blocked off using Edmund Husserl's concept of bracketing from mathematics in a philosophical sense so that we could identify what begin entails. And what I wanted to do was do a temporal spatial identification of the word on the basis of the letter so that we could look at each letter and discern not just the symbol and what it pertains, so that there is a message in the symbol, and see if it reconciles with the concept that's embodied by the definition. So for instance, for begin, I've got 4 roles that have identified that they've engaged in definition of this term. We define the term in a document. So we indicate we have a format for the document so that we could apply the same format, which allows us to navigate and process the information in the same pathway. The header we'll ignore for right now. The title here begins with, of course, begin, but this should link and relate to the place where we have a specified area where we define begin. And once we define begin, that's the goal. And then the objective is that we end up with a place where we could see an explicit indication that begin is defined. So we put the begin and end markers as the horizontal row. And in this case, we'll begin is defined. So I'm beginning with the expectation that I'll meet that point at the end that's a reflection of the action object construct. So for instance, begin is the action. Define is the action. Begin is the object. So the first thing is we recognize we have to objectify the word. The word as an object exists as these 5 letters. We're indicating that we're going to take an action on an object, which is an item. So we have a group called action items. And our expectation, as I said before, is that we'll have a situation that's reflexive or reflective of the action object, meaning that we'll go from action object to object action, with the letter D indicating standing and looking back. And sure enough, we'll have that section here, begin defined. So we're going to also apply coloration to indicate that based on where we stand, there's going to be a requisite activity. So when we stand on something as a focus, we stop. So the beginning is to define, and we stop and ensure that we've achieved what we'll set out as that objective, which is objectify the focus, package it as an entity, just use general definition to begin with, and then we'll expand it so that we can move from definition of a particular term to enlarge the area of focus to make what they call a tag cloud. And the tag is the hash, which we use as a symbol to indicate we're going to do a very rudimentary packaging of whatever our focus is, a line beneath it, above it, before it, and after it. And we'll group those related terms, and they'll fall into the same process of define whatever the object is. So in this case, we've got a point at which we're going to define begin, and we'll use our symbol, which is the point, and we'll indicate that it has that requisite focal point with the space before and after, and the notification that we have a point wherein we'll begin as well as end. And we'll have it both at the beginning and the end. And this place will be set up as a bookmark so that we can establish that this is the point at which we will define begin, and we don't want to embed links at every point on a static basis. We want it to be a contextual link. So in terms of define begin, once we have that known begin point, we can take it to where we actually define it. So that we'll set up like the Aristotelian concept of the beginning of wisdom is the definition of terms, so that we have to define all terms and come to a point of convergence and say that's the point that we're going to agree. And then based on the context, there's going to be a nuance. So you'll have nuance in regard to context, but you'll have a focal point that at least brings us to that tag cloud where we could define, in this case, a word, and we'll expand the word, and then we'll also go within the word to the level of the letter, and then see if we can discern the message within the letter. So the B, for instance, is obvious if it's an orthogonal projection of a three-dimensional, or four-dimensional actually, because we've got the 4 dimensions projected on the 2 dimensions of the text. And we have a vertical standing before a package is B, relating that we stand before and we connect. The observer and the observed become one. So we stand as the path that indicates first we stand, but then we go back to nothing. So our assumption, we hold none. We stand before. And then the E will represent coming from a point which represents the center, the heart, the core, or the essence, goes forward, and in the lowercase will go towards packaging an ideal and touching upon the base, what we consider that's the level of the real, and then going forward, but leaving the object open so that the E represents a truth, that is, there is a beginning. We go forward and we hold ideals. Yet, in truth, we have to be present as a real construct towards manifesting where we stand, where we're going, what we idealize, and evidencing whether or not we are open to whatever is to come. And that's B, B-E. So that we'll have a document for each letter. The message will be posted in a tag cloud construct so that we could see how the letter is affected based on a contextual environment that gives it a flavor. So you could see that the point develops as a path relating a message that is at the letter level or symbolic level, which provides a token, a tokenization of a concept. So the conceptual tokenization of any letter is a message that the path traversing a canvas over time, if you follow from any point, has correlation and context to that same canvas. So, for instance, wherever we stand, we should be able to navigate back, but we have to take into consideration the context where we are and when we're there. So that leads into the idea of the event and the entity, an interplay between the object and the basis of something being material versus being time-based, which we've been using event to represent time, and matter or material that's objectified in order to create those tangible and intangible objectives that we can actually correlate to a workflow. I've had no luck whatsoever connecting with anybody who would consider starting over. Let go of your assumptions and let's go back to the point where we begin, even to the purpose of the point. The point, I need to document it, but it's, in my experience, it's obviously to bring our focus to a particular point. So the ego has to resist, even though the ego is at the center of that very word point. But the goal being to direct the focus so that that point can become our point of convergence and we could pivot and relate from that point. And that would represent a point where we begin. And this is the document of begin. So we'll go from begin to the concept of constructing the object, which we'll do in the next video. I didn't realize this took so long. Thank you.